Herbie was a very sharp businessman, and he was, I'm sure he did some things that were maybe not too kosher, but you know, with expenses and plane tickets and stuff like that. But he was a tough guy. I guess he grew up in New York, and he was a tough, street smart guy. And he wasn't a very big guy, but he was tough. And if you wanted to mess with him, you were going to be in for a fight. I mean, it wouldn't have, I don't mean you'd have to punch him out, but he wasn't going to give up without a scrap. And his brother, who was an attorney, I guess the band used for a while, and his name was Mutt Cohen. And so Mutt, if that'll give you an idea of the way he and Herbie were. So Herbie was an interesting guy, but I didn't particularly like Herbie at the time. I mean, because it got to be, we always got the feeling that that we weren't getting the money that we should have got. And it turns out we were right. We weren't getting the money. But that's another story. But Herbie is an individual, is an interesting guy. And as a matter of fact, later on, I think it was in the early 90s, he gave the old contracts to Don Preston. And lo and behold, we found out that all this money that we were supposed to get, and we were supposed to get this money, which we didn't. There were the contracts that showed it. So there was this long lawsuit, and the band ended up settling, and I got a few bucks. And so I'm grateful that Herbie, you know, had the rectitude to give Don those contracts, because it helped some of the guys out at the time, especially like Ray Collins, who didn't have a lot going at the time, and he got a nice little chunk of change. So that helped him quite a bit. But Herbie, I'd like to see Herbie today. I mean, I think he's a very interesting guy. You know. Ray is a true individual. Ray is kind of like a vagabond in the truest sense. Like he'll just wander. He does exactly what he wants to do, and he'll just wander over here and do this. He'll wander over there and do that, and so he just wanted to wander out of the band. And what actually happens, I think, Ray was fed up of doing the far out stuff. He didn't like it. Ray was basically an R&B guy. He liked to do and he had a great voice, one of the great R&B singers, in my opinion. And he loved to sing in that style, and he was very good at it. And he was very good at the other stuff too, you know, the oh-no's and the this and that, and the squeaks and the far out stuff and the lyrics. And but he didn't really like it. His heart was in R&B. The irony of it is that Ray is hilarious. He's one of the most, he's the funniest natural comedian, one of the funniest guys I've ever met. And I mean, you could just be talking to him, and all of a sudden he's got you laughing, and you don't know what happened. He says something off the wall, and you're just, you know, cracking up. So when I joined the band, it took me a while to get to know Ray, because he's kind of a private guy when he's not performing. But then I just loved him. I just loved the guy. And I remember we were in Chicago, and we were in a cab. We're riding to the gig, and I'll never forget it, because Ian, I think Ian, or was it a rented car? Anyway, Frank and either Ian or the cab driver was in the front seat, and Ray and I were sitting in the back. And there's a lull in the conversation, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Ray says, "Hey, Frank," he says, "I'm going to leave the band." And at first, I was just hoping he was kidding, and I kind of looked over, and I could see he wasn't kidding. And I just went, I just crushed, because to me, Ray was the band. I mean, he was very important in that band. He was out in the front of the stage every night, and he was singing, and he was the spirit of the band, you know, along with Roy and Jim. To me, that was the band. And so for 1/3, I just go, I'm leaving. You know, I thought, oh man, I tried to talk him out of it, and you can't talk to Ray when he's made up his mind. That's it, you know. So when he left, it really, I was really crushed. It hurt me, you know. But of course we went on, and then eventually they hired Lowell George to play guitar and sing, and Lowell was an excellent musician. I really got along with Lowell. I mean, you know, we'd have a beer or something, but it's kind of a personality thing there. but I liked him, and I think he liked me, and I think he was around the band for about a year. I'm not sure.